Beloma the First, I, Proctor Beloma the First, shall continue the works of completing the Qr, Beth. It has been 2 months since Apsaras has gone unto Akka. Although he is greatly missed, he is where we all strive to go, where we all work toward that goal. I shall be leaving soon to travel into all the lands of where the Hitteon people are. When I leave here, I shall first go to Nishabad. Today I started toward Nishabad with a convoy of 100 Hitteons, horses and Titans. We made good strides today, a great distance about the whole of the daylight. After 1 month we have arrived in Oxnan, Nishabad. This village has grown to over 500, and very few of the people who had lived here are still here. The people that are here turned out in great numbers when I arrived. They were thrilled to find out that one of their own people should become the next Hitteon Proctor, and have promised me that they would send word to all of Nishabad of my visit in Oxnan. I have been in Oxnan for 1 week, and the people of Nishabad are pouring in by the hundreds to greet me. I have been blessing people all day long and ordaining all of those worthy to their rightful priesthoods. Today, after spending 2 weeks on Oxnan visiting with the Nishabad people, we were leaving for the coast and will be taking ships to the island of Gaul. We have arrived on the coast of Nishabad and have embarked upon ships to take us to the island of Gaul. We arrived in Gaul. Hundreds have turned out to greet me as they heard of my coming. I have blessed many people today, and we are going straight away to the mighty temple of Apsaras. We have arrived at the temple of Apsaras. It remains as well as the day it was finished so many years ago, and the long fences north of it are finished, but the northern temple was never built. Near the temple, a large town has sprung up. I went into the temple and performed a high mass and gave my sermon as thus: When I left here many years ago as a young man with our beloved Proctor Apsaras, I did not know then that I would return someday as your Proctor. I am happy that I was chosen Proctor, and although it is a hard task to be Proctor, I will strive with your help to be the teacher and guide you would expect me to be. I shall continue the mission of teaching all the world, as Apsaras started to do, and in which I will also do. Whatsoever I do in the name of Aradia, by the divine spirits and the saints in Akka, and I do for the love of all creation. Let us do then together all of these things. Let us love one another as Aradia loves you. Let us work together as one unit, one people, one spirit, one truth, one wisdom, one hope, one justice, oneness as one in all. Ahildam. After this I went down into the anteroom and was met by my sister Elia, whom I had not seen in 42 years. She had borne 10 children. Her first husband died and she had remarried to Patriarch Britti. She had 22 grandchildren, and 3 great-grandchildren and 3 great-grandchildren, even though she was only 64 years old. I went with her to her home and met with her husband and family. I have been here for 2 weeks, staying with my sister and her family and visiting the various Hitteon industries and villages. I also have gone to see the new fleet of great fishing boats that can go far out to sea and catch larger scores of fish. I have said that I would like to go out to sea in one of them and help with the fishing one day, and they have promised me that my wish will be carried out. Today I went out in one of the large fishing boats. The thrill of being out so far as sea and working alongside of men much younger than myself brought new vigor in me, and when I returned to shore, I promised the Gaulics that I would have much silver and gold sent here to have more ships built and open up new trade for the fishmongers. After 2.5 weeks, we left and went to my birthplace where I spent a week, and then we returned to Hatti, and from there went south to central Lemuria. The people of Lemuria made me very welcome and were greatly honored of my coming, as I was put up in a palace upon my arrival. I visited with many of the industries today and met many of the Hitteon people. I've been asked by Caliph Omomoko of Lemuria to teach in the outlying villages and have consented to his request. I shall leave early tomorrow. I left early this morning with about 25 other persons into the interior of Lemuria and went to my first primitive village by dusk. I taught for a while amongst the Hitteon there and then retired for the night. After teaching most at this village today, I went alone up into the mountains nearby where Apsaras first made contact with Belasa and Aradia and meditated. As I was meditating, a spirit materialized near me. She said she was in fact Belisa, and that Aradia was pleased that I had been chosen Proctor, that Apsaras as in Arco in the house of Aradia, and that Apsaras was pleased as to how I carried on the works and leadership of the religion. She told me before my reign was over that trouble would come to all Hitteons, but that I must not falter or fall by the wayside, and that I would be in Ka with Apsaras upon the completion of my mission as Proctor. She also told me that my sister would go onto AKA also, but return someday and grow up to become the first female proctor. She told me many other things that at a future time I shall write down. After she had spoken at great length, she disappeared, and I took up my sacred pouch and went down out of the mountain. I went unto the village once again and told my high priests what took place in the mountains. They were overcome with joy and told me surely I had been preordained. Today I went on to the village of Apsaras's birthplace and visited with these people. They were greatly joyed of my visit and told me stories of Apsaras's childhood and his parents. I had not known much about Apsaras's early life and was therefore happy to learn about him. They told me he had been born to two young people of different tribes, that his father's father was a tribal medicine man, his mother's mother was the daughter of a tribal chief, that Apsaras grew up in an uneventful life and became religious in his middle years, that he had married as a young man, but that his wife died in childbirth, and his only child, a son, had grown, married, and had gone to an unknown place, that Apsaras too was an only child, and that he had become a village sage when he was about 60 years old. I was taken to an old fallen-down hut and told that this was Apsaras's birthplace. I then ordered to have it rebuilt and made into a shrine. They began right away rebuilding Apsaras's house where he had been born. Apsaras's birthplace house is finished, and also a temple nearby had been built and called the Apsaras Temple. I dedicated both the temple and the shrine. After 1 week in Apsaras's village, I moved on further south to the old Lemurian Empire and visited ancient cities, some that lay in ruin, others only partially inhabited. This tour is very interesting. Sometimes we traveled by boat down large rivers. Other times we were carried in litters aback of men. Everywhere we stopped for the night, or for a few days, we were put up at the finest houses and palaces that could be found and were treated like visiting royalty. We have been touring Lemuria now for a little over a year and are headed north again. I and my band have come up out of Lemuria and are on our way to Madana. After traveling for a year, we have arrived at Ramashajiva in Madana. Our visit was expected and thousands have turned out to meet us. I was taken right away to the Proctor's palace and presented with the set of rooms that is preserved for Proctors. There are 12 rooms, 2 bedrooms, a bath, a sitting room, an eating room, a game room, a study room, a small solarium, and a sweating steam room. I had dinner with the ruler of Madana upon my arrival, Maharaja Xenos Aramalas, and his stately court. After our fine feast, we withdrew to His Majesty's sitting room, and I told him about my travels, about Apsaras, the Magog War, and my early life. The ruler was most pleased of my visit and asked if I would be staying long. I replied that I would be staying for about a year, as I had still much to do in Madana, and that I had much to learn about Madana and its masters. I told him Apsaras spoke about Madana often, and told me he had learned much while he was here and thought of the place as his second home. The ruler said he hoped in time I would feel the same way. I have been in Ramashajiva for almost 8 months, and am learning new things each day from the masters. Master Zeraka is my constant teacher, and he has told me things that even Apsaras never told me. He told me not to write these things in the QR, Beth, but pass them on to the next caliphs, generation after generation, as these things were too secretive to be printed in scrolls for all to see. Zeraka told me to start putting some chants into the QR, Beth, the chant to get more wages from your employer. Ayab aber abraka, brakad kad kada kadab dabba dabba kadabar. This chant should be said 5 times, and during the course of saying this chant, you must picture in your mind exactly how much more wages you need. This chant will settle work for you, to be chanted 5 times. Lum, shum, thrum, hum. This chant will lead you to an antique. Say 5 times. Brennigan, Brannigan, Bronigan, Brennigan, Brannigan, Bronigan, Chandler, 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 hoi, 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 hoi. This chant will locate you a treasure. Say 7 times. Yinkata, Yankata, Yinkata, Yankata, Yinkata, 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 yar. This chant will win the heart of the one you desire. Say 5 times. Pavadavata Shiva Shakti Vidya Kala Pavadavata Shiva Shakti Vidya Kala Pavadavata Shiva Shakti Vidya Kala Pavadavata Shiva, etc. This chant will give you vitality. It should be chanted 5 times on the day of the sun. Salaba potent salaba vo. Salaba potent salaba vo. Salaba potent salaba vo. Salaba potent salaba vo. This chant will gain you self-confidence. Say 5 times on a Venus, Saturn or Sunday. Odoi avakia manj. Odoi avakia manj. Odoi avakia manj. Odoi avakia manj. This chant will provide you better living conditions. Say 5 times. In nome della tua bella, in nome della tua bella, in nome della tua bella, in nome della tua bella. Nettle leaves cooked in wine cure lung ailments. Nettle leaves pounded and applied to sores and ulcers prevent gangrene. The mashed seeds of the plant is an antidote to mushroom poisoning. The seeds of the purslane, when chewed raw and eaten with honey, cure asthma. The leaves of the angelica, crushed and mixed with rue and honey and applied to dog bites, will prevent one from going mad. The juice of the aloe mixed with vinegar and applied to the scalp will prevent falling hair. Wormwood cooked in wine and take by mouth will prevent miscarriages. The 7 plants, the 7 stones to go with the 7 planets and their 7 metals. Planet stone metal: Saturn, onyx or garnet, lead, Jupiter, topaz, sapphire or amethyst, tin, sun, jacinth, gold, Mars, ruby or red jasper, iron, Venus, emerald, copper, mercury, cornelian, tin or lead, moon crystal, silver. I will write only enough so an outsider of our faith will be curious enough to want to know more and will have to join us in order to learn more. I left Madana a month ago and went to Tibet and to the home of Lama Inja. Here I shall stay a while and learn more from this great master. After spending nearly a year in Tibet, I went on to the lands of the north and then took a ship to an island empire, which is called Shieko. These people are very hostile and I have not been made very welcome. They do not wish to hear my teachings. So I set sail south to yet another set of large islands. These people are more friendly, so I will be staying here for a while and teaching. We have been in these islands for 2 years and have quite a large following. I am preparing to leave and head back to Madana. Upon arrival back in Madana, we walked into the heart of a civil war and made great haste to leave, leaving in the middle of the night for Hatti. After 1 year we have arrived back in Hatti, after being away for 15 years. The encampment that was there when we left has all been destroyed by invaders after silver and gold. There is no one left here. All the remaining people have fled further into the mountains. So we left and went to the southern coast of Hatti and acquired ships to take us to the islands south and west of Latti. I have begun my teaching on these islands. The first island we stopped at, we stayed for 1 year, and the Hitteons here began building extensive underground temples carved out of pure rock. After 7 years on the islands, we are going back to Hatti and find the Hitteon encampment. After traveling from place to place, we have finally located the Hitteon encampment. They were overjoyed to see me again, but told me much trouble is coming to Hitteons everywhere, and many Hitteons will not admit they are Hitteons, and that many were hiding out in the mountains. I asked them who it was that was bringing all the trouble. They replied it was the armies from other nations that were against the Hitteon way. I told them to send runners out and gather all the Titans here, and I would put a stop to these invaders. Runners then left to go and find the Titans. The Titans have been pouring in for days. There are around 3,000 Titans here as of now. I have set up watch posts surrounding the whole of the encampment. Early this morning, 4 months after the Titans arrived, a large force of slavers and wicked-looking soldiers of about 5,000 in strength swept down upon our Titan force. Many were killed on both sides, and the enemy waits not far away, hoping to starve us out. I have sent runners to try and sneak past their forces and get help, but have had no word for more than 2 weeks. Early this morning, after being under siege for 3 weeks, there was a large force of Lemurian soldiers attacking the invaders. The Lemuranes caused the invaders to retreat, but I feel they shall return in greater numbers, and I have told my people to leave this area, and I will lead them to a safer place. I have begun leading more than 18,000 men, women and children, plus their goats, sheep, cattle, chickens and horses, southeast across the vast deserts. We have been traveling for 2 months and have settled in a new area north of Lemuria. We have built a new city in the mountains near good water and plenty of grass. I am sure no enemy can find us here. I understand Hitteons everywhere are having trouble as well. I was told just before we left that the Apsaras temple on the islands of Gaul had been set afire, and only the stones remained. I also heard my sister had passed away quietly in her sleep at the age of 95. I am 97 now. My hair is snow white, but I feel strong as an ox. Today all the people brought me gifts. I was 100 years old. Tomorrow I embark on another journey to the islands of Gaul, all the way by ship this time. I, along with 100 of the best Titans and 25 high priests, embark upon 3 fine sailing vessels for the islands of Gaul. After 2 months of fierce storms, we arrived off the southwestern coast of the main Gallic island and went ashore and went inland to the Apsaras temple. The wooden parts of the temple was all gone. Only the large slabs of stone remain. Entrenchments had been dug on the outer limits of the temple as if made for battle. The nearby town was gone. I visited my sister's gravesite. A few Hitteons came to meet us but told us it was dangerous for us to be there, that another nation had risen up and it was opposed to the Hitteon religion. We left shortly thereafter and sailed to Nishabad. In Nishabad things had changed there too. Oxnan was no longer there. Neither was the ancient village of Proctor. We hurriedly left and travelled to Lati, but here again were made unwelcomed. Apsaresses and Belisa had warned me of this time, and now it was coming true. We left and went back to our encampment. The people were glad of our return, and I have decided to stay this time and complete the QR, Beth. These are some of the things Belisa had instructed me to write in the QR. Beth, if a man come to you saying he is hungry and you help him not, you will become hungry shortly thereafter. If a stranger is in the need of help by the wayside, help him whether he asks for help or not. And when help is needed for you, it shall come swiftly. If you have too many garments, give some to those that have only one ragged garment. The gates to pleasure and plenty are through good works, good deeds, good thoughts. Amulets, turquoise set in sliver, will ward off evil forces, will protect the wearer from any poisoned drink or food, will warn of coming ill health by changing color. The diamond set in gold will protect the wearer against poison, madness, and evil influences, vexation and hexes. Cornelian set in sliver will protect the wearer against domineering forces. Whenever you use any amulets, spells, or rituals, you must have good feelings about them, or the power will work in reverse. Whatever you put out, the same shall return to you. Just to think wrong, even one single passing thought, can influence the outcome of anything you do. For you have the power, everyone has the power. This great power is not to be taken lightly. You may come into the world and live to be 300 years old, and then leave this world and never knowing how to use this power. But if you learn how to use this power, beware, be careful. This power is potent, it can be dangerous. Remember, Aradia used this same power to create all that we can see, all that we can imagine or hope for. Whatever you think up or invent, from this same source comes this power. You cannot use this power wisely unless you know how. Whenever you think of how you want something, plan on how you will achieve to get what it is you desire. Remember, the slightest thought or idea influences the outcome. The same as when you are doing rituals. If you do not do them in the exact way they are supposed to be done, they will work in reverse for you. For instance, in all rituals, it is of the utmost importance that you remain clean. All the objects you are working with remain clean. If not, the ritual or spell will do just the opposite of what you want done, or they will bring you bad results. When Aradia created everything, Aradia did it a certain way by doing things in a certain pattern of events. Had Aradia done these things any different, they certainly would have come out differently. Therefore, whatever you plan to do it in the way you are supposed to do it, and with your thoughts well planned ahead. Everything in perfect accord, perfect harmony with self and everything around you. Yes, everything. Every stick, stone, piece of dirt, insect, brick, plant, animal, smell, light, darkness, or human. Whether you are putting forth good things or bad, remember the potential of this power. It is not to be dealt with lightly. It can maim, it can kill. It can maim you, it can kill you. Those who wish to use this power to harm others often end up being the victims rather than some other intended victim. That is why it is best to use this power to help rather than harm. Aradia gave this power to all humans to use to help, not to harm. And if you use it to harm, it will harm you more often than not. With this power you can be wealthy, healthy, hold on to the love of your desires and have total peace of mind and body. The QR Beth shows you through its teachings the way, yet it does not give out all the secret ways to use this power to its fullest. Only how to get started using this power wisely. You can build upon yourself of the experiences you glean from the outcome of using this power, and its manifestation will be your guide. Everything else will only be second wisdom. This power and the teachings from the QR Beth are principles of first wisdom.